The 2025 Nissan Frontier is here! A truck that blends old-school toughness with modern features like no other. But is it really that good? Or is it just holding on to nostalgia? Or is it somewhere in between? Let's check the 5 best and 3 worst characteristics of the 2025 Nissan Frontier. We will start with the good side, with features that help Frontier stand out from the crowd. Number 5. Improved towing capacity. One of the biggest novelties that the 2025 Nissan Frontier brings is improved towing capacity. Compared to the previous model year, almost every variant of the truck brings a 500-pound boost, which means that Nissan's midsize pickup finally breaks the 7,000-pound barrier. The King Cab version with rear-wheel drive can now tow 7,160 pounds. Of course, that's still a bit away from the class leaders Colorado and Gladiator, which can both tow 7,700 pounds. But the Frontier has one big advantage: consistency. With most rivals, you need to pay extra for some kind of towing package to enjoy maximum ratings. Also, the towing capacity largely depends on the trim level, engine choice, and similar things. And the difference can sometimes be so big that base versions are actually good for no more than 3,500 pounds. Moreover, off-road versions can usually tow between 5,000 and 6,000 pounds. With the Frontier, things are much simpler. You don't need to pay extra for any package. And since there is a single powertrain option, differences between trim levels and body styles are minimal. If you don't need the long bed, you'll be happy to know that every model can tow over 6,800 pounds. Even the off-road Focused, the Pro 4X, is good for 6,880 pounds. And that makes it significantly more capable compared to other off-roaders in the class. With the long bed, the least capable version is good for 6,310 pounds, which is still quite a respectable number for the class. Number 4. Attractive styling. The Frontier is well known for its old-school charm, which makes it look very rugged. But it's not like it lacks modern touches. Actually, there's a pretty nice blend of these two styling approaches, especially with the mild styling refresh the company did for the 2025 model year. You can easily notice a revised grille and bumper, which both look sharper and bolder, more aggressive. Along with them, you get modern-looking headlights with attractive LED stripes, as well as all kinds of other small details that contribute to the overall appeal. Certain trim levels look attractive in particular, like the off-road-oriented Pro 4X. That model, like a typical off-roader, comes with a more rugged appearance, highlighted by distinctive grille design, unique wheels, and a set of off-road gear that aren't just functional, but also contribute to the overall appearance, like tow hooks, skid plates, massive fender flares, etc. For this year, the Japanese automaker also added a new color option, exclusive to the Pro 4X trim, called the Afterburn Orange, which works perfectly in combination with that solid amount of black plastic trim. Number 3. Smooth and capable V6. In our book, being old school pays off in many ways, especially when it comes to powertrain. You probably already know that most rivals have switched to Turbo 4 units, which provide more low-end torque and should be more efficient. With Frontier, you still get the good old naturally aspirated V6. We say good old even though this is a relatively fresh engine, introduced a few years ago. Of course, the key benefit of that engine is smoothness you'll never get from a Turbo 4. The engine feels very refined, and we particularly like its linear and predictable power buildup. Speaking of power, the engine puts out 310 horsepower, which is one of the highest outputs in the segment, especially if we talk about similarly priced base variants. Then, there is the max torque of 281 pound-feet. It's not as much as in the case of Turbo 4s, but it's plenty enough to move this truck with ease. The engine works pretty well in a combination with 9-speed automatic transmission, so even driving dynamics are pretty good, with 0 to 60 going around 7.3 seconds. As for fuel economy, base models with rear-wheel drive return around 18 miles per gallon city and 24 miles per gallon highway, which is pretty much on par with Turbo 4 rivals. So you may conclude that the actual benefits of smaller turbocharged engines aren't all that big. Models with four-wheel drive are decently efficient too, with average figures going around 17 miles per gallon city and 22 miles per gallon highway. Number 2. Modern tech features. Despite the old-school design approach, and the fact that it still rides on the old F-Alpha platform, the 2025 Nissan Frontier definitely isn't an outdated truck. Moreover, it's loaded with modern tech features. Base models feature an 8-inch infotainment screen and wired smartphone integration, Wi-Fi hotspot, Bluetooth, and push-button start. But already mid-range options come with a massive 12.3-inch infotainment screen with wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, voice recognition, premium 10-speaker audio system, wireless charging, dual-zone climate control, proximity keyless entry, satellite radio, and many more. The same thing goes for safety features, as base models come standard with goodies like lane departure warning, blind spot monitoring, rear cross-traffic alert, rear parking sensors, automatic high beams, and adaptive cruise control. Additionally, higher trim levels add a few more advanced tech goodies, like surround view camera, traffic sign recognition, and many more. Number 1. Multiple cab and bed configurations. One of the problems we have with modern midsize pickups is that manufacturers have simplified the offer way too much. If you look at Colorado, Ranger, and Gladiator, the only configuration you can get is a crew cab model with a short bed that's barely over 5 feet long. On the other hand, the 2025 Nissan Frontier, along with the Toyota Tacoma, remains the only model in the class that still comes with different configurations on offer. In Frontier's case, the offer starts with the King Cab model, which is a term Nissan uses for the extended cab. That one comes in combination with a long 6-foot bed and remains one of the rare work-oriented models in the segment. The Crew Cab, on the other hand, is comfort-oriented, with full-size rear doors and quite comfortable back seats that accommodate adults pretty easily. That one normally comes with a short 5-foot bed, just like its rivals. But Nissan also offers a stretched version with a nearly 140-inch wheelbase, which is long enough to accommodate the long 6-foot bed. So we could say that version is the most versatile, both comfort-oriented and ready for some serious work. But the Frontier is far from flawless and comes with a few drawbacks that some of you would hardly forgive. Let's check some of the worst characteristics of Nissan Frontier. Number 3. Ride quality. The Nissan Frontier is an old-school pickup truck, and while that's great in terms of its straightforward design, it also means that the ride quality isn't at the level of most rivals. With a chassis that remained largely unchanged in the last couple of decades, it's not that hard to find things to complain about. With leaf springs on the rear end, it's no surprise that the ride is firm and that it can be pretty bumpy on uneven roads, especially when the cargo bed is empty. Many rivals are smoother, particularly models like Tacoma, which is available in variants with multi-link rear suspension, which doesn't just make the ride more comfortable, but more engaging as well. That's another weak point of Frontier's ride quality. Its chassis is old, with a higher center of gravity compared to more modern rivals, which translates to more body lean in corners than you would expect from a modern pickup. Furthermore, the steering isn't particularly precise and feels quite vague, even by the truck standards. So if you're looking for a pickup truck with more driving engagement, you should probably look at some other place. Number 2. No powertrain options. As much as we like Nissan's V6 for its smoothness and strong performance, the fact that it's the sole powertrain option can also be seen as a drawback. Most rivals are more flexible in this aspect. The Toyota Tacoma, for example, comes with 2 Turbo 4 variants and a hybrid version, while the Jeep Gladiator plug-in hybrid is on its way. Not to mention that the Ford Ranger is available with a Turbo 4 and a couple of Turbo V6 units. Besides the reduced choice, there's also the matter of price, because buyers are forced to pay a premium for 6 cylinders. Some more basic 4-cylinder unit would definitely be a great addition, in the way it would make the starting price notably lower and, therefore, the truck would be more approachable. Finally, we already talked about fuel economy. Nissan's V6 is comparable to an equally powerful Turbo 4, but there are trucks that are notably more efficient, like Tacoma's hybrid powertrain that returns around 24 miles per gallon combined. Number 1. Outdated design solutions. Being old school is great, but it usually brings a couple of compromises. In the Frontier's case, this refers to a couple of things. We already talked about the chassis and suspension setup, which provide ride quality that isn't exactly on par with younger rivals. Then, there is the transmission, which feels a little bit unrefined and slow. On the inside, the fact that the Frontier's size hasn't changed for a full 2 decades means that the cabin is tighter compared to rivals, even in the case of the crew cab version. Also, While the truck is loaded with modern tech, the layout of some of the controls feels a little bit awkward by today's standards. The driving position could be better too. So, altogether, this group of awkward design solutions represents another bad characteristic of the 2025 Nissan Frontier. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.